promises. There's no excuse. You've been loosed.
This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Come on in here. My name is Janice Pons. I am the host on this podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. I am having such an amazing time as we are flowing together as one, as represented by our great flag, our presidential seal. This is such a strategic year, 2024. Can you tell that I'm all in for our great nation and we the people? Listen, we are flowing together as one. I am so excited about October the 12th as we gather on the Washington Federal Mall. Goodness gracious, it's so much going on. I'm so excited. Remember, you got about another week to go on JanicePons.com and register, give your initial registration for going on the prayer tour with me, which starts October the 8th. I'm going to be there in our great nation's capital from October 8th through October 13th. In my support of the 1 million voices arising. Yes, JanicePons.com, From Destruction to Dignity. The focus is on our children. If you want to be involved in prayer hubs, go to hashtag Don't Mess With Our Kids. You'll see the flow of the movement. I am all in of protecting our children. I want you to share this, share this, share this. There are 210 million Christians in America. Yes, that's a lot. That's a majority, guys. Yes. 62%. Yes, 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 yes. That's amazing to me. And what we are doing, what I want you to do is to share it. If you share this with 10 people, if we had 1,000 people share it with 10 people that you know, your relatives, your associates, your friends, everybody you know that are believers, we will have all of a sudden 10,000 Christians that know about this and say, you know, I need to get up to Washington. We're going to stand. We're going to stand in the gap. We're going to collectively sing praises to our God. We're going to have a powerful time together. If those 10,000 share with 10, all of a sudden we got 100,000. If those 100,000 share with 10, all of a sudden we've got our 1 million voices arising. I'm really believing we're going to have more than 1 million. I really do. I'm pushing it, and I'm excited. So if the spots are going fast. Related to the Janice Pons Prayer Tour, which goes from the 8th, that Tuesday, the 8th of October, through that Sunday, the 13th. But the culminating activity on the Janice Pons Prayer Tour will be on the Washington Federal Mall on October the 12th. Those positions on that vehicle that I have rented, and the accommodations all squared away, the meals. Where we're going to go, I'm not even going to tell you. I know we're going to Gettysburg. We're going to go to the Underground Railroad. It's just so powerful. I'm so excited. Can you tell? Yes. Come join me. I'd love to have you. I've got Facebook friends, people I haven't even met yet. They're like, I'm coming. Yes, I'm excited about that. So go to JanicePons.com, info@JanicePons.com. I can help you get connected with a prayer hub. Hashtag Don't Mess With Our Kids. They can show you how. Sometimes people just like to interact with people they know, and I'm going to point you to where you need to go, okay? And so we're all in this together. I'm praying for our children, the families thereof. I'm praying for the 265,900,000 Americans, we the people who are living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. It's grown 25,900,000 over the last 6 months that I've been dissecting issues related to our nation. I know I'm on track with that. I'm very excited. I'm partnering with God. It's kingdom business that we're taking care of. So this podcast is focused on that. So and I want to say this about the podcast. If you want to have our podcast live on your Facebook group, drop me a line at info@janicepons.com. And we can work out the details to get it regularly scheduled to have a live telecast in your group, because we're going to stay, we're going to stay real specific. and real focus in this election year, because remember, we're going somewhere and it is expecting us when we get there. And there are some powerful things that we're going to do in this nation. I'm not playing. We've got a nation to save, and there are collective commissions and committees and people that are all in and saying, let's go. And we're out the gate running. Come go with us. So in that vein, hey, October 12th, put it on your calendar. Go to JanicePons.com. Go on that prayer tour with me, the Janice Pons prayer tour. I'd love to meet you. I already got the vehicle secured, our room secured, meals. We're going to go to some amazing places. You will be glad that you went. It's an investment in your life. Trust me. This will be my third time. I love it. So talking about loving it and our nation and the citizens thereof. Tonight, we're going to talk about the power of collective citizenship. And all this dovetails into the clinical perspective of what we're going to do tonight, because we're going to see how this connects with breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma. Yes, citizens suffer from trauma. The preamble says it all. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So much blood, sweat, and tears have gone into the establishment of our great nation, my fellow Americans and my brothers and sisters. Right now, we are being challenged like never before as citizens. In so many ways, it appears that we are scattered like sheep without a shepherd. Yet, I honestly believe that there are those of us who believe that our nation is worth taking a bold stand for. I am one, and there are millions of others. America's not done. You know why? We are still here. Yes, us. Tonight, we're going to go on a journey together regarding a powerful concept that surrounds the dynamics of collective citizenship. What is that? Collective citizenship is characterized by group membership and consensus-based group decision-making, in contrast to leadership based on expertise, position, or degree. In collective citizenship, power rests within the group rather than being possessed by, or if shared at all, portioned out by a paid professional. We're talking about collective citizenship in America. Passed by the Senate in, it was on June 8th, 1866, and ratified 2 years later on July 9th, 1868. The 14th Amendment granted citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States, including formerly enslaved people, provided all citizens with equal protection under the law. That amendment means a lot to me. I'm an American descendant of slaves, ADOS, A-D-O-S. My great-grandmother was born a slave. Wow. When I started studying these details and the intricacies thereof, I've never been the same. And I'm out in the deep of the ocean, and I'm not turning back. We're going somewhere, and it's expecting us when we get there, and a lot of us are going together. How important is the 14th Amendment to the concept of American citizenship today? It was introduced to address the racial discrimination endured by Black people in America who had been recently emancipated from slavery. The 14th Amendment confirmed the rights and privileges of citizenship, and for the first time in our country, guaranteed all Americans equal protection under the law. It used to be legal to lynch black people. It used to be legal to teach us not how to read. You can't teach them how to read. It used to be legal. That we couldn't vote, it used to be legal. That we couldn't eat in restaurants. But things have changed, thank God. So what is collective citizenship? Collective citizenship is the practice by which citizens expand social mobilization. Do you hear me? Expand social mobilization, position, and political engagement to create what? Varied ways to act as community builders. I am a community builder, and I'm talking to millions of you who are as well. What is citizenship in words? Citizenship involves the relationship between an individual and a state to which the individual owes allegiance and in turn is entitled to its protections. Citizenship implies the status of freedom with accompanying responsibilities. You hear me? Responsibilities. Stick with me. We're going somewhere and it's expecting us when we get there. I love America. And I love my fellow Americans. I am done with parties. I am about America. Citizenship indicates citizenship indicates the relationship of an individual and his or her nation or state. When you are a citizen to a particular state, you swear allegiance to it. In turn, you are entitled to its protection. Good citizenship involves certain things. It involves a positive attitude and behaviors that reinforce ties to the community and state. Examples of these behaviors include obeying laws, being friendly to other members of the state, and helping maintain the cleanliness and order of the surroundings. All of this speaks loudly regarding the power of us forming a more perfect union. What does that mean? It simply means us flowing together as one. The preamble introduces the American Constitution. Its majestic words are the first words people see when they read the Constitution, and it is a common ritual that school children throughout the nation memorized at some point, the preamble when learning about the nation's founding document. Yes, everybody needs to memorize it. The preamble itself imparts 3 central concepts to the reader. The power, okay, here are the 3 concepts. This is very important. The source of power to enact the Constitution, the people of the United States. Secondly, the broad ends to which the Constitution is ordained and established. Thirdly, the author's intent for the Constitution to be a legal instrument of lasting posterity. The Constitution is the law of the land. My fellow Americans, I'm convinced beyond all reasonable doubt, I have no doubt, that as we embrace our collective citizenship, there is not one obstacle that we cannot conquer. We are Americans. As imperfect as America is, this is our home. It is undeniable that there are story after story that clearly prove the sacrifices that have been made to establish this great nation. Our country is so unique, and historically, so many people want to come here to make America their home. This is America. We come from every ethnic background. Native American, white, Caucasian, Black Americans, Caribbean islanders, Hispanic, Asians, Jews, and Muslims. That's America. We are truly a melting pot. I am an American descendant of slaves, and I'm proud of it. An ADOS. The White House and the Capitol was built by my ancestors. America has been called this melting pot. That's a term that's used to describe Americanization in which immigrants adopt American culture and abandon culture from their home country. Now, modern times, it includes a salad bowl or a mosaic or a kaleidoscope in which different cultures mix but retain distinction. That's America. What is the melting pot? The melting pot is at the heart of the American immigration system. The melting pot comes from the idea that all of the cultural differences in the United States meld together as they were metals being melted down to become a stronger alloy. Wow. What was the intent of the founding fathers, my fellow Americans, my brothers and sisters? What was their intent? Did they want a melting pot? Yes, they did. There was no color test, no ethnic qualification, no gender qualification, no language test, none of that when they had this in mind. But there is a cultural test. You must understand and swear to the culture of freedom. As described in the U.S. Constitution, you will be free to pursue your own interests, and you must not interfere with others pursuing their interests. You can't make me embrace your interests. I can respect it. The issue is not more complex today. It's just become more complex. Yes, it has. There are ideologies and cultures that demand American citizens pay their expenses, and the citizens should conform to their cultural ideologies or norms. They're norms, yes. Yet at the end of the day, we are all human, and we should want our posterity, our future, our children, our grandchildren to flourish and do well. That's the American way. What have I been talking about this whole month? Let's recap the program for this month, the month of April. Our national debt is at $34.1 trillion. Current federal funds interest rates are 5.5%. At the current interest rate, the interest on our national debt is currently at $1.87 trillion. The debt's already $34.1 trillion. The interest on the national debt at a 5.5% interest rate is $1.87 trillion. Tax breaks for 2023 total, listen now, and everybody didn't get them. Listen to me. This is important. Tax breaks for 2023 total $1.8 trillion. Tax breaks. The Department of Defense had a total budget in 2023 that was $816.7 billion. All totaled, that is $4.486 trillion. Tax revenue collected in 2023 equals $4.44 trillion. That tells us this election year, 2024, that there is not enough money to fund our government because it will all be spent on these three budget items. Between the tax collection, the national debt, tax breaks, and the military, there's no more money. There's no more money. We now know, I did a whole podcast 2-3 weeks ago on the 15 cabinet offices that our Congress, the U.S. Senate, and our House of Representatives are elected to fund every year. That's their job. Their job is to appropriate the tax revenues to take care of this nation. Yes, it is. America's at a crossroads. Our choices for this election year are clear. We can continue our current policies, which have allowed us to collect $30.2 trillion in tax revenues since 2016, or we the people living paycheck to paycheck who are subject to income tax payroll deductions that come straight out of our checks can choose to enforce a new American policy of uniform tax rates for all Americans, which will bring us $69.1 trillion over the next 8 years. Do you know how fast 8 years goes by? From 2025 to 2032. That's responsible Americanism. In collective citizenship, power rests within the group, we, the people, rather than being possessed, shared, or proportioned out by these paid professional politicians. That's why if there are any political challenges to our uniform tax rate, we are not only prepared to start recall elections, keep in mind that we can be found in every region, every state area, every district, and in every community across America. You work for us. We'd like to respectfully remind you, you work for us. In addition, we're preparing to finance, listen to this, listen, lean in, write it down, go tell your neighbor. Janice Pond said it. We are preparing to financially support primary challenges in 2026 against any politician who has objections to us holding you accountable. We're paying your salary, precious people. We're paying your salary, baby. A salary of $174,000 a year, plus all the perks and the freebies that come along with the job. People have become drunk on power and forgot about we the people who are struggling. Oh my God, it's reckless. The challenge is simple. Find a replacement job back in your local communities that pays as well as $174,000 a year. That's because now it's up to 265,900,000 Americans. 6 months ago it was 240 million. Woo. Those 265,900,000 of us Americans are only allowed 2 deductions to our earned income before federal, state, FICA, and Medicare taxes are deducted from our paychecks. I'm a part of that group. All this talk about passing this debt on to our children and our grandchildren, all this talk about trickle-down economics, where has it gotten us? Politicians raising debt ceilings are risking returning us to an era like the Great Depression of bread lines and soup kitchens. Lord have mercy. We the people are not prepared to give up any of our rights or freedoms. As a result, we will not tolerate any layoffs of our active duty military personnel who are protecting us from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. This election is truly about choice. We can double our national tax debt, which is currently $34.1 trillion. We can double it to $68.2 trillion in the next 8 years, or we can uniform our tax rates. We can have uniform tax rates, which will lead to us collecting $69.1 trillion in tax revenues and get rid, oh, glory to God, get rid of our national debt. We're to owe no man anything. Get rid of our national debt so our children and our grandchildren are not burdened with our responsibility. We, the people, can make a change. We are not done. We are going somewhere, and it's expecting us when we get there, because no truth is ever a lie, and neither do these numbers that I've laid out week after week. These numbers do not lie. This dovetails right into our clinical perspective, breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma. Unresolved trauma from one generation affects the well-being of future generations. While there are many ways intergenerational trauma is passed down, it's often transmitted through a parent-child relationship. In an ideal relationship, the parent is consistently loving, consistently attentive and responsive to the child's needs, which helps the child feel safe and secure, knowing the parent is someone they can rely on. The truth of the matter, that is not what's going on in every home. But this does lead to a secure attachment style characterized by a positive view of the self, of yourself, better emotion regulation skills, and an ability to maintain relationships based on trust and healthy boundaries. That's not the reality for everybody, guys. Some people have unresolved trauma. Unresolved trauma can leave parents emotionally unavailable or even unsafe, and their children may experience chronic and repeated abuse and neglect. That's my calling, professionally and as an American, to be concerned and address these issues. That's why I talk about it, clinical perspectives on this podcast. This is sometimes referred to as complex trauma, which can result in a wide range of impairments, including emotional problems, substance use disorders, or low self-worth characterized by shame and guilt. Trauma-informed therapists often see the same thing over and over again, reoccurring issues in some of their clients who are dealing with what? Intergenerational trauma. Listen, a part of it, we teach people how to consistently, safely reconnect with anger in a healthy way. See, what we see going on in our country now, it's unhealthy. Anger plays an important role in identifying and addressing our needs as well as in setting boundaries. So we need to cultivate a better relationship with anger to protect and advocate for ourselves. I read a life-changing book years ago. It was called Making Anger Your Ally. Powerful book. Many people with complex trauma grew up with parents who expressed anger through violence or abusive language. These early experiences with their parents taught them to view anger as a bad emotion. So as adults, they often suppress their anger and people please. They end up being people please to avoid conflict. So they stuff it and they stuff it and they stuff it and they stuff it and they pop in various sundry of ways. I like to think of anger as a loyal puppy that wants to protect our yard and barks at unwanted visitors. Suppressing our anger is like putting the puppy in a cage, which not only leaves our yard vulnerable to trespassers, but also keeps the puppy from learning to communicate in healthier ways. The puppy is acting up because, why? It's been caged. And it wants to protect our space because it loves us. If we let it out of the cage properly, train it, and build a good relationship with it, the puppy will become an invaluable companion. Once people are able to reconnect in a healthy way with their anger, learn to assert themselves effectively, and set appropriate boundaries, they often have less self-doubt, more confidence, and more balanced and meaningful relationships. Can you imagine an America like that? So, what would happen if we make space for our feelings? Good question, huh? Think about it. Some feel stuck. People get stuck in their feelings about their parents. They may be sad and angry for all of the times their parents hurt them, but they also recall the times that they felt cared for. Yeah, some feel guilty about the sacrifices their parents made to provide for them. Perhaps Even their parents were refugees, grew up in poverty or violence, or, oh God, their parents had abusive parents themselves. So some people, they just don't even feel comfortable blaming their parents. They make excuses for their parents and their shortcomings. And they become incredibly codependent, and they end up taking care of abusive people at their own expense. Understandably, they often get overwhelmed trying to make sense of these conflicting emotions. But are they conflicting? What if instead of trying to figure out which one is right, which is the right feeling to have, what if we focus on making room for all of them to coexist? What would happen? They're there. What are we going to do, pretend it's not there? A simple yet challenging exercise to practice making room for multiple emotions is to use the word and instead of but when describing your emotions. And I feel hurt, but my parent, I feel hurt by my parents' behavior, and I appreciate the things that they've done for me. I feel sad about what I experienced in my childhood, and I feel sad that my parent was also deprived of one. But I can change that. I can work on things. Listen, instead of getting stuck in a battle between our feelings, you don't know how I feel. Listen, we can make space for all of it. Accept them, process them, give a language to it, name, explain, process, metabolize, strategies, skills, and tools, and we move on together. We can know that true love comes with understanding. I love my fellow Americans. Yes, I do. Anybody knows Janice Pons, you know I love my people. Who's my people? My fellow Americans. Many people condone hurtful behavior from their parents because they become parents too. When I've pointed out behaviors to people that I've worked with. Usually they say, well, yeah, that was hurtful, but I know they meant well, and I know they love me. And see, this will affect your parenting, and that intergenerational trauma gets passed on. So this acceptance has sad repercussions for many people that we encounter. Many often end up in relationships in which they are similarly badly treated by their partners. As a child, we rely on our parents to help us understand and meet our needs. When that doesn't happen, we start to believe that our needs aren't important and that we shouldn't expect them to be met in any relationship. Do you see how people get set up? The intention, listen, the intention isn't enough. True love must come with understanding. When we encounter people, we have to embrace advocating for them and teaching them to advocate for themselves in relationships. Wow, I know this is kind of heavy for some people, but it's the truth. Understanding and meeting your child's needs as it relates to intergenerational trauma. Some adults have children and they worry they will hurt their children the same way that their parents hurt them. True story. Research has found that understanding and meeting a child's needs just 50% of the time is enough for them to develop in healthy ways. What if we did it more? By working through their own trauma. You got to work through it, guys. You got to go there. This is why I advocate the therapeutic process and learning about the needs of their children. They can give their children the love that they so much need. Oh my God. By doing so, they would be the one breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma in their families. I learned to do it for myself. What have we talked about tonight? We've talked about the power of collective citizenship. We've talked about the power of breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma. Listen, I can't emphasize the importance of the therapeutic process. I encourage you to go to JanicePons.com and go to the resource page. I have people, I'm going to share the testimony, and a lady told me I could. God told her, go to JanicePons.com and go to that resource page and find your therapist. She is so involved in the therapeutic process, and she got in touch with me to tell me about it. I'm going to share a testimony. She said she wanted me to do that. I invite you to embrace dignity. What we do on this podcast, I want to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards an intervention. Provoke thought, bring awareness, and us collectively going together towards intervention as we go together, one nation under God, from destruction to dignity. I will see you next week. Remember, May 1st is the deadline to get your initial registration in on JanicePons.com to go with me to the Washington Federal Mall. We're going to have a whole week. It's going to be a blast. I'll see you there. God bless you. I love you. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
Education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation. A new nation. We are God empowered. Strength is ours. Liberty been set free. Education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation.